With the release of the Sauroborians DLC came a new gameplay mechanic called corruption. With that, new questions like what is corruption and where did it come from came to my mind, so I set out to answer these types of questions to help expand the lore of this great game. Corruption has been in the lore of Outward for around 100 years or so, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Corruption is the result of a spell cast by the Winged Cabal that did not go as planned due to its target Ilat resisting the spell, and thus the intended spell effect, which was to kill Ilat through the Immaculate, could no longer physically be achieved, and thus the Immaculate went wild or rabid, if you will. Corruption is part of the human soul. When Ilat ascended to godhood, it was because the spell the Cabal's cast turned against his soul itself. The part that was still him refused to die and used the power of that spell completely unintentionally to ascend. The part that turned against him became the Scourge. The Scourge consists of two parts, part of Ilat's soul and a huge amount of mana. This event happened around 100 years ago, and during that time there was a enormous magical explosion in one of the mountainous regions of Arai, carving out a massive canyon now called the Gates of Catharsis. From it, hordes of the Scourge beast poured out. The majority were shell horrors, but there were many Illuminator horrors and Immaculates as well. Arai is the name of the major landmass in which Outward takes place. As you can expect, the beasts decimated most of the land and overran the great many tribes. This is why you see a lot of dead Scourge beasts, broken golems and other artifacts littering the world. Fortunately, Ilat ascended to godhood around this time and was able to turn his tribe into the Holy Mission, which managed to fend off the Scourge long enough for the Vigil crystals to be put in place, which keeps each region safe from the Scourge. The Vigil pylons are a prominent towering structure found in each of the 4 major regions of Outward. These pylons were constructed during the near-apocalyptic war which occurred around that time. During Questions and Corruption, a Holy Mission faction quest, you learn more about the nature of the Vigil pylons. When you burn a greasy fern at the Vigil altar, you see an army of warriors fighting a massive Scourge beast with spears. They are nearly wiped out before one of them manages to cripple the beast. A ray of light falls from the sky and engulfs the monster, and it is trapped within a shining crystal, surrounded by dozens of people it killed. As the memories fade, you return to your senses and you look up at the Vigil crystal and briefly see a swarm of ghosts trapped within the crystal with the Scourge beast, endlessly stabbing it with their ghostly weapons. You sense agony rippling from the crystal. The Scourge beast within is still alive, endlessly tortured by the spirits of those it killed. The monster's pain is a warning to keep other Scourge beasts far, far away from Monsoon. Corruption is a form of decaying negative life energy that is often released when someone passes from one life to the next. The more negative emotion contained in the being's soul when it passes, the more corruption will cling to the area where it was released, and the longer it will take to vanish. In some cases, too large of a glut of corruption can take on a life of its own and grow rather than decay. In a letter from Soran to the Cardinal Barlamark, he says, "The only relieving news is that the corruption here runs deep enough that the ghosts are able to feed off it. They do not appear to be compelled to hunt for fresh life to siphon, so the Chersonese region should remain safe from ghostly hunting parties." Soran is one of the elder champions of the two, and Cardinal Borlamark is the human head of the Holy faction. In the letter, Soran is referring to the Hallowed Marsh. So now we know ghosts can also feed off of corruption energy, and that's why we don't see them that often in areas that don't have much corruption. So to conclude, if you want to learn more about the lore of the corruption and the Immaculate, I highly recommend playing the Holy Mission of Ilat main questline. There are some juicy pieces of lore for you to discover. Do you know any pieces of lore based around the corruption that I never mentioned? Leave a comment down below and let me know. I'll really appreciate it, as I'm a big fan of this game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.